Do you ever feel like there's this invisible roadblock that you keep running up against on your journey to the next level? It's like you have all the right tools, all the right tactics, you get a winning strategy, but you can't seem to build enough traction to break through and get where you want to go. And so many of us spend so much time butting our heads up against this invisible wall that we can't even see. And it can be really, really frustrating. I know I've experienced that in my own business, in my physical health, and in my relationships, and maybe you've experienced it too. And sometimes so much of us spend so much time building this ideal image of where we want to go, and we might spend days, weeks, months trying to get there, building a little bit momentum, but we can't seem to break through. We end up self-sabotaging or falling off track, and it's not even our own fault. We can't even see it. And so in this video, what I want to share with you guys is this invisible force, this thing that we're not addressing that's holding us back, and unless you master it, you're never going to be able to get to the next level of where you want to go. So that's what we're going to talk about in this video. Let's go ahead and dive in. Hey guys, it's Adam, your optimal living coach. And in this video, I want to talk to you guys about something that's really near and dear to my heart. It's core to my coaching process and to my own self-development exploration journey. And I want to share it with you. Have you ever been in a situation, maybe it's a relationship, right? You're doing all the dating, you're having all the conversations, you're seeing all these people, but nobody seems to really click. Or maybe you've been dating somebody and you can't really get to that next level emotionally and you think maybe it's them. Or maybe you're trying to build a business, right? You have the greatest marketing strategy. You have all the right tools and tactics to track progress, but you can't seem to build enough traction to really break through and get to the next level. And you see, that can be a pretty frustrating process. And until we address not the external things that are holding us back, but the internal things that are keeping us from getting to that next level, you're never gonna break through. And that's what I wanna talk about in this video. So to get started, I wanna talk about a really great metaphor that I use to explain this process of what's holding us back and what we need to overcome in order to get to where we wanna go. So the first idea that I want to talk about is to have a tall building, you need a really deep foundation. You guys might have heard this metaphor used sometime in the past. I'm sure other people have talked about something like this. But what I didn't realize is that when they build massive buildings, as tall as it goes, you have to have that much deeper of a foundation in order for the building to stay intact. And I love this metaphor because it's the same exact thing in our own lives. You might be sitting here thinking that you want to build $1 million business or have an absolutely amazing relationship with the love of your life or get in really, really great physical shape. And so many of us are consumed with this idea of building a really tall building, but so many of us are doing that on really weak foundations. We're not doing the deep, what I call excavation work down below in order to have the prosperity of a really tall building, right? We're trying to build $1 million business on a really weak mindset or on principles and values that don't align with wealth. Or we're trying to have an amazing relationship without having any of the emotional excavation done to foster deep communication skills or have a non-codependent mindset or all these different things that go into building a really great relationship. And so the first place in starting is maybe the reason you're not having the things and reaching the level of success that you want to have is because you haven't done the excavative work to really uncover a lot of that stuff that's the invisible roadblocks that are holding you back. And I say invisible like that because they're invisible to us, but in reality, if we ask ourselves deep down, we probably know some of those things that are holding us back. If we're really honest with ourselves and we ask ourselves these questions, do I really have the communication skills it takes to be a great salesperson or be a great partner? Or have I really done the deep emotional investigative work to handle having $1 million business or to dedicate myself to running a business 14, 16 hours a day? And so that's the first place to start, is come to the understanding that maybe the reason you don't have the tallest building is because you don't have a deep foundation, and the deep foundation is the most essential piece to having a really tall building, or in our terms, having success in whatever area of life that looks like. So that's the first idea I want to share with you guys. All right, so the second idea I want to share with you guys is what I alluded to previously, is there's two different types of systems or two different kind of processes we need to go to if we want to be successful in an area of life. I call it excavation and architecture, okay? And I'm gonna have Danielle, who edits my videos, link up the images somewhere around here, but there's two processes. There's the excavation phase and there's the architecture phase. And I'm gonna go through both of these, but so many of us spend so much time on the architecture phase, and that's the external kind of more surface level things we see above ground, okay? And I summarize these in really 3 different domains. Most of us are looking for success in 3 areas of life: in our work, in our energy, and our love. And to kind of summarize those, our work is our productivity, it's our passion, it's our mission in life, it's the things that we're working on, it's time management, right? It encapsulates all those things. Our energy is our physical and our mental health, right? It's how we use our bodies, what nutrients we put in our bodies, how we sleep, how we focus, right? Those are the things that encapsulate our energetic states. And then lastly, love. Love is the connection that we have with ourselves, it's the connection that we have with other people, and it's the connection we have to a higher power, whether that's the rest of humanity, maybe somebody, a God that you worship or religion that you follow, whatever that might be. It's a connection to something bigger than you. And so those are really the three different domains of life that we're looking to build and be successful in. And when you have those three things in harmony, or you're working on those three things, I depict it as a triangle, you hit the pinnacle point, which is flourishing. And I think that's what we're all after. We're all after human flourishing. We're trying to get to the top of that hierarchy where things are in this equanimity and we're really enjoying life to the fullest. That's when we're really unlocking our full potential in life, is when we're flourishing by mastering those three areas of life. And when you guys think about what you're, want to be successful in, when I think about that, it's some type of those three combinations adding up together to make me feel successful, right? Maybe it's my business, which is encapsulated in work, or maybe it's waking up and feeling gung-ho about life and super energetic, which is encapsulating that energy, or maybe it's my deep personal relationship with my partner and feeling like that's going really well. So those are some of the architectural things that we're trying to build to hit that flourishing point. But so many of us want those things in those areas, and we haven't done the excavation phase. Now, the excavation phase is an assimilation of behaviors, beliefs, emotions that we're feeling on a regular basis, and sometimes those things can be dysregulated. Sometimes those things are out of whack and they're not aligning with what we want to get from an architectural standpoint. We're building this architecture on a faulty foundation of behaviors, beliefs, emotions that happened to us in the past that aren't suitable for the new structures that we want to build in our life. And these are the invisible roadblocks that I'm talking about that we need to overcome. These are the things that are going to hold us back. And I'll break this down in a little bit to kind of explain to you what the excavation phase looks like. Now, to build from the bottom up, you guys will see here, I don't know if this is up right now, but it's an upside down triangle. Every belief or behavior or thing that's holding us back starts out as an event. So when you're young, or maybe not even when you're young, sometimes when you don't have the right coping mechanisms or the right outlook on things, an event happens, right? So you have this event that happens, and depending on where you're at in life, if you have the right coping mechanisms, sometimes you're able to look at this differently, but when you don't have the right coping mechanisms, an event happens and then you develop some beliefs around that, okay? So if, let's say, you're young and your parents scold you for not having good grades, you build this belief that, let's say, I only am worthy if I have good grades, right? I'm only worthy if I'm achieving. And then because you have that belief, you start adopting emotions around that, which is the next level up. So I'm only worthy if I have really good grades, and when I'm not getting good grades, I get really angry, right? And that anger leads to certain behaviors. And that anger leads to a behavior that then says, if I can only be worthy if I'm getting good grades, then I'm going to show the world how worthy I really am by just being an absolute monster and achieving to the highest level. Or maybe I feel really weak and vulnerable and I'm going to cower in fear, and my behavior that I'm exhibiting is one of never really getting to that next level, or being afraid of really being vulnerable and showing up in the fullest way because I'm worried that if I don't achieve properly, people are going to think less of me, right? So there's this hierarchy that builds on top of an event that happens. We then build beliefs around that, and then emotions because of that, and then those emotions lead to specific behaviors, okay? And that's the architecture. I don't care what domain in life it is, whether that's business, relationships, physical health, these behaviors exist everywhere. I'll show you. Let's say when you're young, you've been ridiculed because of your body, okay? And because you're ridiculed of your body, it makes you feel really sad and disgusted with yourself. And because of that, you start exhibiting behaviors where you're gonna put on weight so nobody looks at your body, or you're gonna exercise like a maniac because you never want anybody to judge who you are. Now, when you're thinking about building an energetically healthy lifestyle, do you think working and exercising to the bone and depleting yourself of any health and vitality is really gonna help you? Of course not, but your mindset and belief is built on this foundation that's, I don't want to call it a weak foundation, it's a maladaptive foundation that's not going to get you to where you want to go. And so this applies to anywhere in life, whether it's business, money, relationships. I know I've said that a couple times, but it's really key that this map works for any domain in life. And so that's the first thing we need to understand is what does our excavation look like in relation to our architecture? And usually they're pretty related. Our external circumstances are usually an indication of what our internal circumstances are. So that's a really important point to take home, that if you're running up against these invisible boundaries, it probably has to do with some excavation work that you have or haven't done, or the weak foundation that you've built. You need to go ahead and take a look at that and restructure it to understand exactly where you're butting heads. Now, the third idea that I want to talk to you about is that you need to take personal responsibility for your own excavation. When you take responsibility for your life, that is where you build purpose and meaning. And this video is not going to be about talking about all the techniques to do the excavation, do that work. I'll share that in other videos. I've talked about that before. And you and I can work together if you want to do that at a deeper level. But what I want you to get from this video is really a why behind why this excavation is so important. I think so many people think that they can outmuscle or outwork a faulty foundation by building a higher building, but eventually you crumble over. This video is really a call to action for you to take personal responsibility for doing the deep work necessary to build a taller building, to have a better work, love, and energy relationship, okay? And the reason being is that the way I always talk to people about this and my clients about this is that you are a node. You are a node in a system. I want you to think about yourself as a little tiny dot, and there's a bunch of little branches coming off of this dot. And the branches coming off of that, if you are this node, are all the different people you're connected to. And whether you realize it or not, you influence and are influenced by everybody else in your system, everybody else in the node. You're only seven, what do they call it? You're only 7 kind of points of contact, or 7 people away from 1 billion people. Okay, and that's if you know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody, you could reach 1 billion people that way. And the reality is that you have more power than you think and more influence over people than you could even imagine. People are counting on you to show up and have an impact on them just as much as they're having an impact on you. We all know that you are the 5 people you surround yourself with. That's because that person, the way they show up affects who you end up becoming. And in the same sense, if you're small circle is overweight, you're more likely to be overweight. If you have good habits, your circle is more likely to have good habits. And the reality is that you're more powerful than you give yourself credit for, and you owe it to not only yourself, but the people that you're connected to in your node structure to show up as your most empowered best self. And you can't be that empowered best self for your kids, for your family, for your relationships, for your coworkers, for the rest of the world, if you're not doing this excavation so you can build a taller building. The taller building you build, the better everybody else is going to be, and the taller buildings they're going to be able to build. But it starts with you. To have the most powerful life, you can be a force for good if you're willing to do the work and help other people build tall buildings by being a tall building yourself. The way I explain this in my work is being a luminary, right? When I think about a luminary is somebody who is a radiant exemplar of what's possible. And when you illuminate a space for you, it gives people unconscious permission to illuminate themselves, and they can get better. And so this is not so much a how-to video, but a cry to action to tell you that you need to do this excavative work in order to be a bright light for other people so that they can shine brighter. And the way we do that is by doing the excavation work, by re-examining our beliefs, our behaviors on really what's going on, our emotions. That's what I meant previously. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Remember, you need to take responsibility for doing your own excavation. You need to understand how to build a tall building by doing the excavative work. And if you guys have any questions about that, let me know down in the comments below. I'm happy to help out. If I don't talk to you in the comments down below, I hope to see you guys on the next video.